Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor, and Joe Rogan has finally broken his silence about these Spotify protests, about the people who are trying to censor him. Sort of. Let's get to it. First, I want to talk about the source again, because last time we reported on this, it really did feel like this Digital Muse network was really just reporting on Joe Rogan stories. They've been the one who've been following this story and getting attention for it. So again, I don't know who Digital Music News is, and if you watched our last video, which I implore you check out, I will put the ping it over here. You can check. When I looked up their Twitter and everything else, I can't figure out if this is a legit source or if they're just clickbaiting us to get more information about Joe. That said, Joe did finally respond to sort of their story that Spotify employees are attempting to protest. I get it. You're a 23-year-old woke kid was sort of the headline they're putting at this, but let's break down the episode. I can't share the clips because now that he's with Spotify, he's only allowed to put 15 minutes per episode up, which is kind of annoying because it's usually a 3-hour show, and I liked getting clips. So it's frustrating that we don't get as many clips or as long of clips as we used to. But because sometimes I don't have 3 hours to watch the whole show, but I like to get a little bit of it, and then when I have time, I watch it. But that's not going to happen anymore now that he's on Spotify. But last month, Digital Music News first reported that Spotify employees were threatening to strike. See, they're the ones who broke this. Who are they? In response to the guest conversation on the Joe Rogan Experience, now Joe Rogan has broken his silence on the subject, which validates them. So it's like, does someone he know work at this site? I can't figure it out. And he doesn't really just come out as cleanly as I wish he would. However, let's see what he said. So he still also hasn't addressed the episodes missing, which is a very weird thing that he's avoiding. Just tell us what's going on. But those missing episodes are still a question mark. But now there have been multiple stories from this source saying that Spotify people are employees that are upset and trying to censor him. And then so finally, when Tim Dillon was a guest this week to ask him on the 1,544th episode of JRE, he asked about these Spotify rumors with Spotify employees. Was this complete fodder? And Joe said, they have literally said nothing to me about it, referring to the contact from executives about employees. Reported plans to strike. Zero. It's never come up. However, Rogan also acknowledges Spotify employees might have voiced their disapproval of JRE episode on which Abigail Schreier, author of Irreversible Damage, the transgender craze seducing our daughters. Now, is there someone at Spotify that's complaining about the Abigail Schreier episode? I'm sure. I'm sure there's someone who's complaining about it. Is it a trans episode? It's not. They're wrong. It's nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that human beings are actually malleable. We all know that. That's why cults exist. There's a thought process now, Rogan continued, that if you're talking at all about that community, YouTube doesn't let us say that word too often. Frustrating. But if you're talking about that community, you have to be 100% supportive. You can never question whether or not children should be allowed to transition, babies, hormone blockers for small children. All of this is madness. From there, the former Fear Factor host who retweeted a newly uploaded YouTube video mocking Spotify. It's very funny. I subscribe and I completely spaced. It's JP, right? Is his name? Awaken with JP did a really funny sketch mocking sort of the Spotify employees who are censoring him. I highly advise you watch this. I'll link it in the description after this so you can watch it. But he also retweeted that video, which was very funny. He continued, what Abigail is talking about in her book, Irreversible Damage, is large clusters of kids who are mostly kids that are socially awkward. Many of them are autistic. Many of them have never had any praise at all in their life until they transition, and then they get all this praise from people because right now, it's in vogue. Rogan then relayed his desire to have conversations about this topic, expressed his willingness to speak with guests in that subject matter on the podcast, and returned to the subject of behind-the-scenes disputes. I don't know what the actual conversation has been from Spotify talking to these employees, but if these employees are listening, I would tell you empathetically, I am not in any way anti-T community. I am 100% for people being able to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't harm other people. Lastly, Rogan said, I'm talking off the top of my head. And a lot of times I'm just saying stuff that I don't even mean because I'm saying it because this is an effing podcast. And if you have a problem with people saying terrible stuff and you work for Spotify, maybe you should listen to some of the lyrics. Okay, because some of the lyrics and some of the effing music that you guys play over and over again makes my S pale in comparison. He's talking about, obviously, a lot of stuff. This was another story about certain rap lyrics and stuff that should be removed. There's a lot. You could argue WAP. A lot of things people are out there complaining about. Where's the line? Conversations. But I get it. You're a 23-year-old woke kid and you're working for this company and you think you're going to put your foot down. I get it. It's unclear if Rogan's comments about Spotify editorial oversight demands inspired in confidence investors, but Spot shared finished at $251 a piece today, more than $11 uptick from Friday, their highest closing value since early September. So look, he doesn't say it's true. He says he doesn't know. But he clearly is humoring this story from Digital Music News. But he's also sort of confirming that he hasn't heard anything from them. So to me, I take this article as him basically acknowledging, yeah, I guess that story could be true, but no one's really confirmed whether it's true. My problem here, I agree with everything you said, by the way, even the stuff about the certain community. It's a topic no one wants to talk about, but it's also a scary area because as you try to educate yourself on things, there are people with different viewpoints. It doesn't mean they're being hateful, but if you say anything against, you are just suddenly deemed anti or hateful. And it's a scary place to be. It's a very vocal group that expects 100% support no matter what. And the reality is it's sometimes a complicated topic. There are a lot of people who have different viewpoints. And just because they were born in different viewpoints doesn't mean they're against. So I like what Joe's saying there, and I think he's spot on, especially when it comes to kids and choices that parents make for their kids. Kids are always the line for me of don't ever force or tell. And look, and that goes to me with religion, everything. You got to be careful raising kids, in my opinion. If you instill all of your things, they're just going to follow your lead. Look, I guess that's the right of a parent to raise the kid as they see fit. But for me as a parent, I like to make sure my kids know there are multiple choices you can make when you get older. This is what this person believes. This is what this person believes. I believe in supporting all and being kind and loving to everybody. However, there are people out there that don't agree. I like to be honest with my kids. So that's just me. But I agree when certain groups are allowing decisions to be made so early on that a lot of kids do have regret later. And that's what that book was talking about. The people are calling her out and him out for having her on. There's a lot of people who have regret. It's important to share all sides. And so I like that Joe Rogan does that. He has guests on that will challenge people and ask other cases of things. And just because you ask questions where we want to hear things doesn't mean we're against it. But it's getting very, very scary how aggressive certain groups are if you are against things. So all of this sort of is right in the same wheelhouse, right? A Spotify employee is being upset about what Joe Rogan is saying. If it's in fact true, which I'm still trying to confirm, even Joe's not really confirming it. He's just sort of saying, look, I get it if people are doing it, but look at the money and look what else Spotify has. I think he's right on the money. And that's why I'm a fan of his more often than not, because he speaks his mind. Is he always right? No, he's made mistakes. Obviously, we all do. But I think he's realizing the strength of his platform, the size of it, and I think he's attempting to take more accountability. I would wish he would just be more forthright about where do those episodes go, what's going on. I also find it hard to believe he can't just have straight conversations with Spotify and be like, what's going on? If I were Joe Rogan and signed that big deal, there's got to be someone at Spotify who I can call and be like, what's up with this? Do I need to? Is this going to become a problem? Do I need to worry about it? Even if Joe's not making that call, Joe's reps should be. I'm sure he's got someone on his team who is talking to Spotify. So look, it feels like he's just holding some things close to the vest. That's his prerogative. It's his right. However, for someone who's usually pretty open and honest and forthright, there's certain things he doesn't want to talk about. He's not talked about Chris D'Elia, a lot of his friends who have been called out for things. I would love to hear his take on that, but he's clearly making decisions on what topics to talk about and what not to. And when someone like Tim shows up, who's a friend of his and been on several times, funny guy, and he shows up and asks that, I find it hard to believe that wasn't a question that was approved ahead of time. Like, hey, am I allowed to ask about what's going on with this stuff? Are you cool talking about it? Type is what I mean by that. That's what I think. That's just, from my experience of doing podcasts behind the scenes of content and stuff, typically that's what you do. Maybe I'm totally off base. Again, I'm speculating, but does anyone hear what I'm saying? Like, it feels like he's telling us a little bit to keep it like going. And then it makes me wonder, is this a real thing? Is this him attempting to have a group against him when maybe there isn't really a worry about it? Or should we be worried? What do you guys think about all this? Now that you've heard Joe actually leave his comments, I'm curious your take. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments below. As always, you can hit me up on social media. Be sure to subscribe here and join us tonight for a big expose. If you know me from my previous days of Screen Junkies, it's the 3-year anniversary of my own cancellation today. I'm going to unleash and release some stuff there as well. It'll be split out into multiple episodes later, but you can check out part 1 or the live stream here tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join me or check out the other content over here. But thank you guys so much who found me and supported me here on Popcorn Planet. I hope you'll consider subscribing or joining and supporting this community further in the future. Thanks so much for watching.